You too!
Okay.
Welcome, scientists, elves, and dreams, to the 86th production of an Unearthly podcast. Streaming live on the 25th of December 2014 in live video for the first time. I may or may not be in live video. It really depends on apparently how my bandwidth feels about it, but I may be in live video.
Yeah, it's not right now.
Yeah, it keeps face palming.
Due to the festivities, we are a little light on hosts today, but I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello, I got cookies. One more.
And Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
How's everyone doing on Christmas Day today?
I'm surviving. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't tell if my mic was on or off. Because I don't get the little blue light that lights up when I talk.
Gotcha. We're a little light on news today, so we should be able to skim through this pretty quickly. First was the news that there would be a Doctor Who extra episode for The Last Christmas, which of course is now both available on Red Button for British viewers and on actually is it? Okay, no, it is no longer available on Red Button for British viewers again until 8:55 tomorrow. Today, whatever, due to it only being available for a few hours a day. So its next availability on there is 8:55 to 10 p.m. on Boxing Day. And then on Saturday, I'm not sure if this is Friday night or Saturday night, but Saturday midnight to 6 a.m.
So that would be Saturday morning.
Presumably. In which case, yeah. In which case, that would just mean they're taking a 2-hour break. It's also available on YouTube, as previous Doctor Who extras have been.
Yeah, I was about to mention that YouTube viewers can probably already find it there.
Yep. Matt and I watched it earlier today.
I did not, because I kept myself in the dark until I watched the actual official release of the Christmas special, which was, at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
And I had a special watching with friends, which is why I didn't want to see it beforehand, because I'd be, oh, don't worry about that, you'll see later. I get smug.
You get smug and people get annoyed.
Yes.
Stop spoiling!
Interesting anecdote on that. My sister was mentioning that she had watched I forget what, we were clearing out some of our old VHSs, and my sister mentioned she had watched a movie with some friends, and they refused to believe that she had watched it before. So she spent the entire movie quoting lines before they happened.
Yeah, that's a way to lose friends.
Well,
okay.
If they refuse to believe you. There are also some clips of the episode online, although that probably doesn't matter as much because the episode is now out.
Correct. Yeah. If they had had them last week, we could have reported them, but not till then. Anyway, moving on. So the children of England have voted on who is going to appear in the next series of British banknotes, and the answer is the Doctor.
Woo.
You could have made a pun on that, on who is going to appear. The answer is who. No.
Yeah, I stay away from that pun. I ignore it. I go over it.
What is on the 5 pounds?
Anyway, according to both Doctor Who News and the Radio Times, in a mass vote, by the nation's 7 to 16-year-olds as the person they most want to see on future currency. The Doctor was an overwhelming favorite, with 1 in 6 children selecting him to front a new generation of banknotes. The Doctor is an esteemed company.
I greatly appreciate that the Doctor was chosen over the third place.
Yeah, Mum and Dad were the next most popular choice, with just over 10%, followed by X Factor judge Cheryl Fernandez Versini, boy band One Direction, and footballer Wayne Rooney. That would be association football, what we call soccer here in our ignorance. Other answers given included Radio 1 breakfast DJ Nick Grimshaw, Winston Churchill, Stephen Hawking, and Sherlock Holmes.
See,
I wonder if they mean
made me happy.
Is Stephen Hawking British?
I think so.
He is the physics chair at Cambridge University in England.
Ah.
And Winston Churchill,
so
obviously.
I don't know if he was British by birth or if he has been there long enough that he's considered British. I would actually have to look that up.
Either way,
and I'm not going to bother. Anyway, the Radio Times article actually has a note there with David Tennant on it as a 10-pound note, which was a fake note that was used in the as a prop in The Runaway Bride.
Yep. Doctor Who News mentions that if the Doctor appears in his current incarnation, Peter Capaldi would become the third Scotsman to appear on a Bank of England note.
Seriously, though, would you really want currency staring at you with those eyebrows? I mean, think about that. I'd be afraid to cash the note, man.
Look at him, folks. Look at him.
Well, it really depends on what it is and what you're using it for. I mean,
you just get that stare going at you. You'd be mesmerized by the note.
Like I'm just picturing you go to get something like you know you really shouldn't, but you want it, and you go to pay for it, and those eyebrows are just staring at you angrily, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to pass on that purchase.
I'll save my money and make sure I can pay my rent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of feel like just the way that trends happen. I mean, it's a little less likely now than a few years ago, but I feel like it would be Tom Baker.
Possibly.
So much teeth on a banknote.
Our next piece is that the Paddington Who statue designed by Peter Capaldi is currently available to bid on in an auction by Christie's into the NSPCC and Childline. The auction runs until just after 3 p.m. on January 7. Is currently at 2,000 British pounds, approximately $5,000, give or take. The auction notes report, well, it's a bit too much to just read out, but let's see here. Yeah, okay, it's basically just describing Doctor Who and such.
Okay.
The statue is still available to view outside the Peter Harrison Planetarium at the Greenwich Royal Observatory until 4:30 on December 30th.
Okay. Anything else you have to say about that?
No, that's really all there is to mention in that.
All right. So, moving on. Take a back seat, Captain Kirk. Move over, Darth Vader. Sit down, Ellen Ripley. The British Film Institute has spoken, and the best sci-fi character of all time is the Doctor. Thousands voted in the survey, which has been running since August, which saw the Doctor top the list, just beating Ellen Ripley from Alien by a mere 110 votes, and far outstripping Darth Vader, Mr. Spock, and Fox Mulder. Rose Tyler came in as the most popular companion on the list at number 44, closely followed by Donna Noble at 46 and Amy Pond at 69. Sarah Jane Smith, who would be listed as a companion until she got her own series, came in at number 65. River Song came in at number 73, while The Master was number 90. 13th on the list was Captain Jack Harkness, with Ianto Jones making 19 and Gwen Cooper coming in at 87. The only
Ianto
monster on the
beat
list,
every companion.
apparently,
What?
apparently the people voting were Torchwood fans.
Apparently.
Only one Doctor Who monster made the list, the Daleks, at number 32. I would have thought the Cybermen would have actually come in.
Yeah.
So Ianto beat the Daleks and every companion except for Jack. So apparently there's some hardcore Torchwood fans.
Apparently.
Yep. It's those Ianto Jack shippers. You know, they're out there. They're
Yeah.
scary.
Pretty much.
Let's see. Characters from television rather than cinema were preferred, with characters originating on the small screen taking 61% of the total vote. 22% of the votes went to characters from the 1980s, 28% from the 1990s, and 20% from the 2000s. So that puts the Doctor in the
but
minority.
number one is from the 1960s.
Technically speaking, number one spans all of those.
Yeah.
He probably had to be removed from the register, not the first time. Simply because the Doctor has been around since 1963 and is still going. In fact, the only era he may not actually check a box for is the 1990s.
Image of the Energizer Bunny here.
60% of the votes were for male characters, 33% for female, non-specific entities taking up 6%, and one character qualifying as both, following Michelle Gomez casting as the Master Missy.
Oh.
Yes.
Say goodbye to gender issues, people.
Of course, most of those. When were I feel like most of those votes were probably cast before that was revealed.
Probably,
Yeah,
since this has been
August.
going on since August. And
Right.
this is from, of course, the British Film Institute, BFI.
All right. Our last our last group of pieces, I should say, because there's a little bit more to it. But Big Finish has announced a Humble Bundle, which I didn't realize I would have needed both up, or I would have had both up. But yeah, the Big Finish link did actually not have all that much. But let's see here. They are offering Dalek Empire, the full all 4 parts. I'm sorry. The first 4-part season and the second 4-part season. Is Doctor Who Legacy part of that? I feel like it's already free. I think that might just be an ad. The Lost Stories, 1 through 8. Oh, Dalek Empire Season 3. So, just all of Dalek Empire, I'm pretty sure. More to be announced. Pay more than the average to get Season 3 of Dalek Empire, which is currently $13.07. Okay, the Lost Story. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a little disorganized, and if I had realized that, I would have did more planning. Pay $15 or more to get the Lost Stories. So, if you put in, say, $20, you're getting a minimum of 8,
Actually,
14,
you'll-
25 stories.
Actually, right now you only need to pay 15.
Right now, 15. I'm just saying, if you were to round it to 20, you know that the average isn't going to surpass you anytime soon, and you'd be guaranteed over 20 stories. So
Well, the thing is, they
that's
only need to pay 15, and it still stays on. But anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
So yeah, if you're a big Finnish fan, especially if you're a Dalek fan, go for it.
Pay any price you want for Dalek Empire 1 and 2. Pay above $13 to get Dalek Empire 3, and pay $15 to get all of that, plus Doctor Who Lost Stories 1 through 8.
For those not aware, the Lost Stories is essentially a line of scripts intended to be episodes that, for one reason or either budget reasons, the season never being filmed, etc., were never actually shot. A large number of those are the original intention for season 23 stories, but I've seen quite a few from other doctors as well.
There's actually a lot of good
Looking at
Colin
the
Baker
photos there, they
stories.
look like looking at the photo there, they look like they're all Colin Baker. So these are probably all these stories that would have happened that were replaced by Trial of a Time Lord.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably if they're all eight, they're probably not all, but they were probably all submitted.
the original 8 probably.
Yeah, they would have been pared down to four.
Let's see, the Nightmare Fair. Oh, I went to. I thought that was a click to see more, but
Or
it's only showing me.
pared down to six, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say how many stories were in season 22.
Quite a
Okay, here
few,
we go.
actually.
Here we go. Nightmare
With
Fair, Mission to
with
Magnus, Leviathan, The Shows of Time, Paradise 5, Point of Entry, The Song of Megapetra, and The Macross.
yeah, if I recall, with the premiere being the season before, season 23 then started out with like Attack of the Cybermen, Vengeance on
22.
Varos. What? Yeah, 22 started with Vengeance on Varos, or Attack on the Cybermen, Vengeance on Varos, Mark of the Rani, Mind Warp. I am not speaking them in order, by the way. The Two Doctors, um, and Revelation of the Daleks, 6 episodes.
So we'd probably expect about the same amount. Also, a bit of a Big Finish news is that the Trial of the Valued was released this week. Uh, and actually, would have been nice for me to pay
Speaking of
attention
the
to
Sixth
what
Doctor,
that featured. Yeah, speaking of the Sixth Doctor. And let's just see if I can quickly see what Doctor that featured.
or does it, or is it an indie work? There,
Trial of
Big Finish.
Valeyard,
Thinking.
and that would be Baker, Colin Baker.
Well, the Valeyard was in during the Colin Baker
Okay.
era, but I don't know if the
It's
Doctor
Colin
is
Baker's
actually.
image on the cover twice.
Okay, then yeah, probably also appearing. Yes.
Oh, they say if that's main range, I think it might be the January release because when I actually go to look it up, I'm not seeing it. So it came up on the
Okay.
news, but not the actual main range, which is
So it'll probably be coming out shortly.
yeah. So they probably shipped it is probably what the for subscribers and such is probably what the news was then.
By the way, I just noticed that one of the voice actors for Blake's Big Finish series is from also Doctor Who in like the 2000s. I can't place his name at the moment though.
Which character?
Oh no. Okay. Here's why I couldn't find it at first. I'm sorry. This is it's a bonus. It's an extra that's not part of the main range, and it is featuring Colin Baker as the Doctor. So it's essentially
Okay.
probably an add-on of some sort to Trial of a Time Lord.
Yep.
Hmm.
The follow-up, sequel, spin-off, what have you.
Yeah.
And anybody
All right.
who has a 6 or 12 release subscription to the monthly range got it for free, I believe.
Yep. Okay. So that I guess we can put an end to that little piece of news.
Yep, and that ends
Yep.
our news.
Yep. So y'all have a nice Christmas.
Relatively so.
Yeah,
Only
we had a
one
small
defective
thing.
device.
Our family wasn't up to our normal gathering, so we just had a small thing with the three of us here.
Yeah. Aaron's aunt came over early on and was only here for about an hour, and then I made a kick-ass Christmas dinner of ham, stuffing, and mashed potatoes, which we ate, and then
Oh, nice.
we rested a bit before getting up and heading over to watch the episode. And back we come. Here we are. What'd y'all get?
The shirt, the camera.
The the
Oh, is that why
majority
you
of
were
my gift.
broadcasting?
Yep.
This shirt.
Nice.
This shirt.
Very nice.
And one more shirt.
Nice.
Got a PlayStation style controller for my computer. Got a headset that the microphone fell out, and when I USB connected it to my computer, it still wouldn't activate. So, setting that back to set. My buddy Mike.
What is that? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Don't forget to describe it because not everybody listening to the podcast can see the stream.
So okay, so well, they are seeing this, but essentially for people who can't see, who don't know about what this is for the new Wii U and the upcoming updated 3DS. It's called an Amiibo. Yeah, Amiibo. I'm trying to look at it backwards. Um, but this is Link, and the thing about the Amiibos is that I really do think they were rushed out. They are there are some very noticeable warpings and bad paint jobs going on with a number of them, but in particular, after seeing a number of the really bad ones at Target and Fond du Lac, I was really just gonna head out and not get anything. But my buddy Mike pointed out that there were amiibos hidden in a stand near the checkouts where video games were, and sure enough, amiibos were hidden behind the games. And looking upon one of them hidden in the back, this Link was there. The sword is not warped. His face does not have a derp face. So, yeah.
Yep. How about you, Bill? What'd you get?
I got. I'm not sure if the video is picking up the shirt that I'm wearing. I got.
No, it is not, because your video is frozen and has
Oh,
been
it's,
since the beginning of the
I
podcast.
love. Of course it is. I'll try to turn off the video and turn it back on again. See if it does anything. It's Darth Vader holding up a smartphone. It's Darth Vader holding up a smartphone of some sort, taking a photo of himself from the back view. Most of my gift exchanging was actually with two other people who all of us shipped it late and none of it's arrived yet. So I've got that from family, some other, grooming supplies, socks, things of that nature. Small holiday.
By the way, when your camera is active, your microphone dies.
Pretty much. I'm pretty sure you got some
Really?
bandwidth issues there,
Yeah,
Bill.
you've got some bad issues.
Ah, lovely.
Anything else you get?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else really there.
Notice
Some
the
chocolate.
hat. Notice the hat.
Hat. Are you wearing a hat? Ah. It
Long
blends in with your
screen.
back. It blends in
Yeah.
with your background.
And
Yeah.
my sister made these.
Obsessed much, Matt?
My sister made these. I didn't know these were coming.
I was obsessed with Link in the 90s.
Oh, I have that game. Yeah.
Anyway, my gifts have kind of been coming all through the month. I think I've
Same
mentioned
here,
a few
kind
on
of.
previous podcasts. My parents shelled out $175 for us to get a new entertainment center, which is good because our old TV, or the TV, had been formerly sitting on a very low coffee table
Yeah.
and is now at eye level, which is really, really nice. Aaron's parents sent me $50, which I am to use to buy a new deluxe iced teapot, which I am going to love to death. Aaron's aunt gave me a stone cutting board, which I used to make Christmas dinner. And Aaron and I traded gifts, and we traded each other Assassin's Creed games. So that was that. And she also got me a couple of things off of Steam. And at
She gets you Gary's
Sarah's
mod
place
ad.
prior... no, it was Borderlands.
Should get you
And
Gary's mod, man.
at Sarah's place, just prior to the episode, I got a gift here of Rivals of Catan. If you don't know, Rivals of Catan is basically a two-player micro version of Settlers of Catan. So it's something Aaron and I can do around the house if we're bored, and it's just the two of us. So that was pretty much my Christmas.
I'm trying to remember what else I got, if I got anything else.
Sounds like you made away like a bandit, Matt.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been getting games frequently throughout the month as well. I gifted Ozzy Arcane. He gifted me back a couple days ago. Um, my brother-in-law actually got me the PlayStation-style controller for my PC, but also a couple days in advance, he gave me Action. It's a video game recorder, which is quickly replacing Fraps these days. So that'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll have to give that a try.
I've already tried it. It's been wonderful so far. It's recorded stuff that Fraps won't touch.
Yeah, I'm just we'll see if what we can do with that. What kind of magic? Anyway,
Hmm.
I guess we should probably get on to actually moving on to our other topic of discussion, and that is kind of our final piece of news, and that is, of course, following off the episode, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The part we're going to mention after the summary.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going to
so
mention that
then
a little
we
bit
should
after the summary.
we should move on to the summary.
Yeah. The story begins with Strax, or Ian the elf, crashing Santa's sleigh into Clara's chimney, or a nearby one, waking her up and causing her to come out and look. After they talk for a bit and establish that yes, Santa is real, but probably not the way Anya described him, the TARDIS arrives. The Doctor urges Clara to board it before expressing his awareness of a grave situation to St. Nick. We cut to the North Pole where a blonde named Shauna is on some sort of mission or test that involves walking across an infirmary and avoiding looking at or thinking about the sleeping telepathic inhabitants as the Doctor and Clara arrive, rousing the sleepers by looking at them, which causes the creatures to see them back, like a fictional anecdote about an ostrich. The Doctor struggles to distract Clara until he mentions Danny Pink, who Clara reveals is not alive as the Doctor believed. The other three members of Shauna's team rush in to save them, just as a group of aliens that the Doctor probably recognizes from his time as John Hurt fall from the ceiling. Luckily, the group is saved by the arrival of Santa Claus, who puts all of the creatures...
That broke Randy.
It didn't break me. I just hadn't made that connection.
Luckily, the group is saved by the arrival of Santa Claus, who puts all of the creatures to sleep before spending some time convincing the scientists of his existence. Santa reveals that the creatures invading them are Cantroferin, dream crabs. The Doctor states that the group is dying, but does not explain why, before he and Clara each reveal their deception from the end of Death in Heaven. The crew reveal that the four from the infirmary were the first members of their expedition to encounter the crabs. Clara goes back to the infirmary to grab a dead crab for analysis, and winds up being ambushed by one. She finds herself celebrating Christmas with Danny Pink. The Doctor attempts to awaken Clara, causing messages to appear in her dreams, but he is unable to make himself clear until he feeds himself to a crab himself. With the help of Dream Danny, the Doctor convinces Clara to awaken from the dream, till the Doctor reveals that the entire crew is actually dreaming and that Santa is a defense mechanism. The dream crabs create dreams within dreams, so that as a Christmas present, Doctor Who fans can make Inception jokes from now until the start of Series 9. With this understanding, the group awakens, and the Doctor goes to leave before Clara reveals the last piece of the puzzle. They encountered Santa before they showed up at the North Pole. The entire installation is a dream, or, as the Doctor mentioned, a nightmare. All of the sleepers are facsimiles of the same crew that have been speaking with the Doctor, and one of them welcomes Michael Troutman to prime time. The creatures begin to come from more and more directions, and the Doctor summons Santa again to help them escape. As they all ride through the skies of London, each of them first begins to remember more about their own life, and the fact that they're unlikely to remember their dreams, and the three surviving guests awaken and disappear from the dream reality. Shauna also looks at a list of Moffat's inspirations for the script. The Doctor awakens the Doctor awakens before Clara, and rushes to meet up with her before she does, using his sonic screwdriver to force the dream crab off of her. It appears at first that it has been 62 years since Death in Heaven, but they wake up yet again, and Clara agrees to rejoin the Doctor on the TARDIS. Which brings us to our final bit of news, that Clara will be with us throughout the duration of Series 9.
Yes, she
Yep.
will.
It actually says on the end of the episode that they'll return in the first episode of Series 9, which was given a title.
The Magician's Apprentice?
Yes.
Yep. Which actually, considering the Doctor was called a magician based on his outfit throughout this entire episode, might give us some indication as to what it's referring to. Maybe either that, or it's just completely unrelated.
Or it's Moffat trolling with us again. Ooh.
It does also sound a bit like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which
Yes. But in the news we've seen, apparently Clara took some time to decide if she was going to be returning to Series 9. The reasons are not announced. So what it appears, at least my understanding, is that both the Series 8 finale and the Christmas special were shot to give Jenna some leeway so that either decision would fit what we shot.
either that or there was a rewrite at the last minute and some a sudden immediate reshooting like a month ago to do like the last 5-10 minutes over again, which is what the rumors had actually mentioned, is that she had planned to leave, she was going to leave, and if that was the case, then she was probably going to die in this episode.
Probably, by the looks of things. Because it was kind of heavy-handedly hinting that she wasn't going to continue. And then all of a sudden, woke up again.
Yep. And
now the fact is, that does give us 2 season finales in a row with very good reasons for Clara not to continue on the TARDIS, with her continuing on.
now, also, I was on the way home and it hit me that if Moffat is a truly magnificent bastard, we will go through all of Series 9 and then somebody's going to pull one of those frickin' crabs off the Doctor.
I'm pretty sure that would backlash.
That would
Piss off a lot of people.
That would be, yeah, if you basically announced, oh, the season up until now has been a dream, that would be. I mean, granted, now if they do that and be like, oh, unlike if they make it into like a turn left, like if they make it like a turn left situation, maybe, but
But that's
if they try
not
and
going
act
to be
like
the
the
same thing
entire
at all.
season's been a dream, that's not going to work.
No, that's going to piss off a lot of people.
It would depend on how it was done.
It's all a dream.
Well, mind you, the all a dream thing has been done before. But the only reason this is occurring to me is the Doctor and Clara leaving in the TARDIS like that at the end was a little too idealistic. A little too...
Well, do you remember the last little reference at the end there, though, too? Tangerine in the windowsill?
Why were they called a tangerine?
That's what they called them.
Why did Santa live on the North Pole when, to my understanding, he doesn't in England?
He lives in Lapland, which is basically the England's name for Scandinavia. Scandinavia and Russia.
So, saying that this episode was tailored to be more understandable to American audiences would not
International
be
international audiences. I guess even England has understood the whole North Pole concept before.
No.
And,
Right.
Just
America
saying
has been experienced 2 years of American media, whereas Americans have not watched quite as much British Christmas specials.
And, the fact that Lapland is actually, occupied by, the Norwegians, the Swedish, the Finnish, the Russians, whereas, nobody actually lives at the North Pole.
London
That's
is
some
occupied
periods.
by the Doctor, and that doesn't seem to stop anything.
No, I'm just saying that it makes it easier for a. It just makes it a little more believable with the research station and things.
Oh, yeah.
Still, also, there was a cross-reference the fact that one of the girls, one of the women in there, had a list when she woke up, and one of the movies that she had watched was Miracle on 34th Street, which was an
Well, I'm not
American
sure if she had
production
actually
with Santa
watched it
living.
because she didn't write. she didn't write done or whatever she had written on the other one
It,
next to
it,
it. So I feel like
we're
those are
pretty,
things she
we're
planned
pretty
to do.
much, we're pretty much assumed that she did because you know what the other things on her list was? Aliens, The Thing. It was pretty much a throw out to these aliens. And before we get into our normal bit, what did you
Although
guys think of the?
nothing from Game of Thrones showed up in the special that was on
No,
our list.
I hadn't gotten that far.
Unless one of
Maybe
the
she knows the
unless
other
one of the
movies well
actors
enough.
is.
I didn't know if any of the actors were. I don't know the casting for Game of Thrones that well. I don't watch it.
I'm
Anyway,
pretty sure Mark Gaddis is in there somewhere. Couldn't tell you other than that.
anyway, what did you guys think of the aliens?
I could tell where their inspiration came from.
Yeah, well, they actually mentioned that in the show.
Yeah, a couple of
They
times.
they're pretty much the bastard love child of the facehuggers from Aliens and the head crabs from
Half-Life.
from Half-Life. Thank you.
I was
With
thinking that
just a
too.
little bit, with just a little bit of thematic inspiration from the thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much physical.
Yeah.
They were all right.
I like the fact that at least most of the time they were animatronics. Most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or people in masks.
well, there was
Yeah.
people in masks, but there's also actual animatronic hand things that were attacking people.
Right.
Yeah, the first thing through my mind when they came out and looked down was Ridley Scott's going to sue somebody.
Really, Scott's is pissed.
Yeah, that was the
Well,
first thought.
while I was watching the episode, my first thought for an opening bump was to show them descending from the screen and then cut to John Hurt from Spaceballs going, "Oh, not again." But then they made the facehugger joke later on in the episode, so it's like we can't
Yeah.
really do that.
That was now a
So I went
homage.
with my the Thing reference, and that worked well.
Yeah,
enough for
there
an
was
opening.
a few other references that could have been used in here. I'm surprised you didn't think about doing a Nightmare on Elm Street reference, Matt.
Actually, I vaguely thought about it, but Bill had an idea only after I was done making the opening bump. So,
Okay.
You
Yeah,
heard, well,
'cause-
you recognized the one in the summary, right?
oh yeah, I got that one. I think it went over Randy's head, but I totally got that one.
I'm not a big Nightmare on Elm Street person. I haven't watched all of them. I've watched a couple of them. Slasher films are not my genre of choice.
Bill
his-
mentioned
his-
taking
the,
Mr. Troughton
the
to
most-
prime time.
The
Welcome to
most
prime time,
popular,
bitch.
yeah, the most popular kill from the third movie is the one where he yells "Welcome to primetime, bitch" and pulls the girl through the TV screen.
Okay. Yeah, that was very Nightmare on Elm Street then.
Yeah. Well, actually, Freddy was actually the TV with extra arms coming out of it, and then he made her smash her face into the TV.
Mm.
But still, that specific scene is what pulled all the Nightmare on Elm Street reference, and the fact that that was also right when the doctor was like, "They're nightmares."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't hurt
So,
either.
Yeah,
Picturing
it just
Freddy
reminded me.
welcome
It just
to my
reminded
world,
me of the
bitch.
Nightmare on Elm Street I'd actually seen.
Which one
Um,
would that been?
yeah.
So, I guess we should probably get to what we liked, what we didn't like, what scene we liked, what scene we didn't like. We should probably go ahead and start with that, huh?
I suppose.
Got about
We could. We
45
usually do that for the last hour, and I'm thinking that we're. When did we start
We're-
streaming? It
We're
was less than
okay.
an
We
hour
still got
ago.
15 minutes left then, and I am trying to. All right.
We don't
Because I'm
have as
afraid
many
if
people
I'm
to weigh
afraid
in
if we
their
I'm
votes.
afraid if we don't get into it, we're going to start getting into people's issues. That's my problem.
Okay, I mean we could do that and see how long
Then
it
do some
runs.
filler. Yeah.
Like we
Okay.
do only have 3 of us, so it's not like there's as many things for
Yeah.
Us to go
All
over,
right.
yeah.
So
each to
okay.
sift
So
through.
what did you like in general, Bill? You're on the top of my
I like
screen.
Randy.
What was the thing you liked the most?
What did I like the most?
And yes, I do have to hold my hand here because otherwise.
Ah,
My the headphones snapped when I moved. I haven't taped them or anything.
Oh,
That's why I look
Uh,
like a news announcer.
I would say the tone set by the lighting, the effects, and things of that nature within the research station. They really did go, do their best to give the, the alien, alien, etc. feel to it. The
Hmm.
claustrophobia, the effects around the aliens, and things of that nature.
All right. Yeah, it was very reminiscent of a few of the films that they were basically homaging. Um, you could feel it in there.
you
You
could feel
could
the
feel it when
lighting.
they're.
You could see it in the animatronics. It was a general really good feel for that.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, what did you like?
I like that at least the dream idea was thought all the way through, like the dream within a dream, etc. It wasn't
Hmm.
just a one-trick pony.
Yeah, and
Right.
you know what they did is actually a trope. I believe it's called the Lotus Blossom or the Lotus Dream.
Hmm.
It's been done before. You've seen it in an episode of Superman the animated series, Batman the animated series, several things where people are allowed to have the perfect dream. The whole bit with Clara.
Yeah,
Right.
but it goes
And
deeper than just that, though, too.
the waking up and you're not waking up. Yeah, I've seen that one done too. And all right,
I think this dream was what, 4 layers deep. The Radio Times had an
4 or
article about how
5
many dreams there
At,
was,
le-
but I
at
didn't even
least four
click
or
it.
five. Yeah,
more if they're still in a dream.
Actually, come to think of it, I think that last part would make it 5 by my count. Yeah.
yeah, just about.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. It's because they also kind of did this on Futurama too. Now that I think about it, an episode where originally they thought Fry had been stung by a killer bee, and then later on it turned out that it was actually Leela, this like queen
Yeah.
bee thing that gave you these hallucinatory dreams.
Hmm.
Eh.
Hmm. I
And
didn't
you
see
know,
that
it's
one.
like in one dream, Leela's like living a happy life with Fry, and then they get her to wake up, and she's facing this reality where Fry's dead, was killed by the bee, and it's her fault, and da 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 da. And you know, then she wakes up, and it's Fry's been trying to wake her up since the incident. Anyway, um, so
What
this
did you
this is
like?
what did I like? Oh man. Without going into specifics, it's kind of hard to tell. Um, it did, and this would normally be a Tim thing, but it did actually feel Christmassy. Um, to me, and this is probably this one got Christmassy to me without me going, "Oh, come on," all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
I can see
is
that.
which is a problem I have with most of Moffat's work. Is it's most of the stuff he did with Matt Smith, it was always kind of "Oh, come on."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And this
Yeah, it
one,
wasn't as over the top.
it had to be Christmas for it to work.
Oh,
It
yeah, it
felt
was, and it was,
Christmassy
yeah,
throughout it, and yet it wasn't so over the top that it was,
It wasn't
or it
constantly rubbing
was.
it in your face.
Yes.
right. Yeah, the fact that it combined Christmas and horror, which is one of my favorite combinations. That's usually what I spend December doing is watching Christmas horror movies. But they're two
Oh,
distinct enough things that it didn't overwhelm you in either direction.
Hand.
I prefer Christmas comedies, Christmas parodies.
My review for today was Gremlins.
My watch list for December is generally Don't Open Till Christmas, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Silent Night, Black Christmas remake, Santa's Sleigh. I'm sure there's something I'm leaving off there.
Gremlins.
Gremlins, yes.
Had fun reviewing
Okay.
Gremlins. It was a little high pressure to get it done the last day, but
Yeah,
it's a
I
good
don't
movie.
know.
It's worth
Oh
it.
yeah.
The Chris-
Speaking of movies, I forgot. I also got an Ice Cube trio pack with Ghosts of Mars, Anaconda, and Triple X State of the Union.
Mm.
Cheesy action pack, ahoy!
Yep.
Okay, so what didn't you like about this, Bill?
I spent a lot of it disliking what seemed like a half-assed excuse, but when we go into the next part, I'll explain where that kind of changed. Um, Otherwise, beyond that, I'm trying to think if there's anything that really I didn't like. I mean, there's definitely probably things that, as I reflect back on it over time, I'll probably, pick up as irking me a bit more since obviously today's all of our first time viewing it. So there's going to be things haven't really had quite as much time to sink in yet.
Yes, I didn't have a time to do a technical view. So,
And of course, the premise makes things a lot easier to hand wave away, like
yes, it does.
telepathy not being as explained because it all happened inside a dream, etc. I do think that's a scene, so I don't want to go into specific scenes yet. I think I may have to pass on this one and come back to it later if something springs to mind, honestly.
Okay. So
All right,
to me
what?
then,
What
Yep.
did you not like, Matt?
I have to say there's one story quirk that I found that I still see as a loophole. How did they end up there? How out of the clear blue did they end up in the North Pole at this base?
It was a dream.
Yeah,
Yes,
Santa
but
basically describes it. It's Christmas Day.
the
What do
Doctor
they think
himself
of?
is aware that
North
he's
Pole.
supposed to be keeping an eye on everything and trying to think everything logically through, but he didn't even think through the fact that they ended up there in the first place for a very long time.
You're in a dream. It's sometimes hard to realize all the perceptions of why you're in a dream.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
Mm.
With the fact that you're in a dream. I mean, he's aware he's in a dream, but at the same time,
I think of all the things that make sense in a dream, and then I wake up or partially wake up, and I'm like, what the hell afterward? And I can see how there are certain things that would not be questioned during the actual event.
mm-hmm. And usually those things that if you manage to question them is what triggers a lucid dream. Either of you ever have a lucid dream?
I don't really think so.
How do you mean lucid dream?
A lucid dream is a dream in which you are aware you are dreaming. Fully aware you are dreaming.
A couple of times.
Usually in that case, that wakes me up.
More than a couple times gone, oh, I'm just dreaming. Oh well, just roll with it.
Yeah. See, you see, the thing is, if you become fully aware that you're dreaming, you can actually control and dictate the dream.
Mm-hmm.
I have had one of those.
I've had a couple of those, yeah. I'm like, oh, I'll just roll with it. Let's see where we're gonna go now. Okay, let me alter this just a tinge. Yeah.
I had a dream once I was on the Starship Enterprise, the original Starship Enterprise. And once I was aware I was dreaming, I was able to imagine myself into a Starfleet uniform. I tried to get access to an area that was officers only, and basically willed myself into a lieutenant so I could get through. And I lost control of the dream shortly after that. But for a good, chunk of the dream, I was in control.
I've had dreams where I think this is going to happen, and then it would happen, which is probably related. I was subconsciously steering the dream.
Mm-hmm. Um, I think actually the funny thing is that I had the most lucid dreams when I was really heavily reading Sandman,
Mm.
written by Neil
But
Gaiman.
here, though, getting us back on the track, the Doctor's lucid but not fully lucid.
Hmm.
He's aware that
Which
he's
is how he
dreaming.
that's how he is when he's awake. So that's fine.
This is the Doctor we're talking about, not Keith Richards.
Not
Who, yeah,
familiar
I
with
think.
that reference.
Do you want to tell him who Keith Richards is, Matt? Or do you not know either?
I know the name. I can't think of a face off the top of my head though, but I
He
can
is a
find him
rock
quickly.
star,
Ah,
Oh,
I believe, of the Stones, though I could be wrong.
that's are rock stars ever lucid?
Yes, he's one of the original members of the Rolling Stones. Um, the man has taken more drugs than what is in your average pharmacy.
That's my point. Are rock stars ever lucid?
He has taken more drugs than most rock stars, and he's still alive. Keith Richards will outlive us all.
he has
There was there
evolved
was
into
there
the power of the cockroach.
there yes, there is a joke that in a nuclear apocalypse, two things will survive: cockroaches and Keith Richards. The man looks like
And
somebody has
religious
dragged his
fanatics.
um
And
the,
Twinkies.
Keith Richards looks like he should drop dead at any moment, but he's looked that way for 20, 30 years.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
um,
The man's gone through some hard living and is still ticking.
yep. Anyway, um, but still, the Doctor's more lucid than he kind of leads on to be in most cases, unless you're Matt Smith, in which case I would agree with Bill on the partial lucidity part, but that just might be the senility talking.
Well, weren't you the one whose theory for I think it was I forget if it was Time in the Ronnie or Shada or both was that he was just too eccentric for to actually contain his actually being conscious. It's just too eccentric and random to actually I don't know
Complete
be
thought.
lucid.
There you go.
I don't know. It depends on how you define lucidity.
Hmm.
But in this case, I mean the fact that he is lucid enough to be aware that he's dreaming, but he's not lucid enough to realize the depths of the dream. Anyway, we've spent way too much on this.
Yeah. So anything that ticked you off, Randy?
Uh,
Anything generally you
as a
thought
general
wasn't
as a
happening?
generalization, yes. What ticked me off is Nick Frost.
Hmm.
Um,
Really?
yeah, I think he was horribly, horribly miscast in this.
As in, you don't think Santa should have been as Nick Frost, or you think there's something about his performance
Um,
specifically?
basically, if you're in the concept of this, these people are feeding in and creating their dream concept on Santa. Therefore, why was Saint Nick Saint Dick?
The writing aspect of Nick Frost Santa
Yes,
rather than the actual performance.
yes. Well, I don't think Nick Frost was right for the role in general. I don't know if Nick Frost could have played it straight.
Well, I mean, do
I
you
don't.
think he was right for the role as it was written?
As as Saint Dick, yeah, probably, but at the same time,
See, you
um,
keep saying Saint Dick. I don't think he's that big of a dick.
he is, and
He's a
part of
wise
the
guy, but he's
He
not a
is. He is
dick.
for what you expect Santa to be.
yes,
I think the linchpin of it is that he's less of a dick than the Doctor.
mm-hmm. But at the same time, he's not the jolly fat man that you would have thought. You know, he's not the Miracle on 34th Street Santa, which, based on the references of the fact that this is a dream, he should have been.
Hmm.
And that started to eat at me. And
I
eventually,
can get that.
the point that came to a head was the point that I think near the middle or the end of the middle, where there's a scene for like a minute and a half of the Doctor and Santa sniping at each other, and I'm going, haven't we seen this already? Oh yeah, the Doctor and Robin Hood, and I didn't like it then either.
This I feel like if Santa had been any more Santa-y, it would have come off as too cheesy, or it would have been too ridiculous not to realize it was a dream right away, because it would have been too artificial.
That's also very true, to be honest.
That's
Yeah,
my 2 cents
but
on
at
it
the
anyway.
at the same time, it's the plot hole inherent in the story. If he's a fictionalized, Santa basically thought up by their memories, why is he a dick? Yet if he wasn't a dick, then it would be easy to disbelieve,
That
therefore catch
in the
22 in the
12th,
writing.
I'm sure in the 12th Doctor's dreams, everyone except him is a dick.
Yes, but why would that have been imposed on the others?
Because all of
It
their thoughts are imposing on each other.
Actually, that is one big question about the whole thing. Why the telepathic hive mind for created by creatures that are obviously work better without that aspect? That would actually probably be my biggest negative about the whole plot. The plot only works because of the telepathic hive mind created by the crabs, but why would the crabs have such a feature?
Yeah,
Like it made more sense earlier in the episode when I thought the Doctor was telepathically projecting his thoughts into Clara's dream, but it doesn't make sense for the whole. If they're long distance from one another, why such an aspect would be a thing.
yeah, that's it. It just kind of becomes such a major issue. Okay, so scenes that you liked. Bill, your favorite scene.
I would say my favorite scene was when Clara brought up the question as to why Santa had been at her house, because that kind of throughout the entire episode up to that point, I was having that, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If they came there just to get attacked, then why did they come there in the first place? What is going, why? And then that scene happened, and it kind of all just snapped into place. And I was like, okay, now the plot is making sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had figured it out like a good like 10 minutes into the movie, into the episode. Sarah had turned to me and go, "Oh, they're all in the dream from here on." I'm like,
And it,
"Oh,
in my second view, well, actually, in my second viewing, something came more clear to me, not related to that, but the fact when the Doctor first realized that everyone was in the dream, that came more clear to me on the second viewing, because the Doctor kept mentioning they were dying without saying why. And it made sense again watching it after knowing what was going on.
all right." So, Matt, what did you like? Your favorite scene?
Oh, favorite scene. Trying to pick and choose. Well, you mentioned not liking Nick Frost's Santa. Actually, one of my favorite parts about his Santa is when the one younger gal who still thinks she's a scientist is questioning him about all this stuff, and he literally has a straightforward answer for just about everything she throws at him. Oh, I lost being able to keep up with all the kids in the world a long time ago. There's an extra sleigh or two out there already.
How do you fit all the presents in the sleigh? It's bigger on the inside.
Stuff like that. Yeah. That was
Okay,
probably one of my favorite moments, and that's where I
based
thought
on
he
what I
still
didn't
did
like.
a really good Santa.
Based on what I didn't like overall, my favorite scene is going to surprise both of you, and that is the final sleigh ride scene where the Doctor takes the reins,
That was
and
a
that
solid
is
scene, too.
because you actually see
That's
Peter
something that
Capaldi.
And again, and that, yeah, like that fits in what you didn't like, because that's something that you would expect. That scene actually. I was actually wondering why Santa would offer him the reins. That version of Santa, whereas a
Mhm.
friendlier Santa that would have been a more in character scene.
But the reason I like the scene is because you actually see this look of sheer childlike glee on Capaldi's face.
It's 100% truthful too. He's probably having the time of his life, even if
Hmm.
it was a blue green screen that they were surrounded by.
Yes.
He's up there just going,
He was still on
Yes.
the sleigh. So,
He it's suddenly he was 8 years old, and it was like
hmm.
yes. And that look of just sheer child delight on his face is just beautiful. All right. So, what made your eyes roll? What scene made you go, "Oh, Bill"?
The old Clara scene was just a bit too much for me.
It was a bit Peter Pan.
Yeah, that too.
Obviously, Moffat hasn't given up his child tendencies there.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it just seemed. I'm sitting here waiting for the ball to drop. At the
I
same
mean,
time, that
it didn't help that I had already accidentally come across news that Clara was rejoining the TARDIS, posted by newspapers that had probably watched the episode in Britain or whatever, and then proceeded to immediately post about it. But having already come across that and knowing it was fake, I mean, otherwise it might not have been as bad. But even knowing it was fake, it was just no, that's too much for me.
um, the thing is, though, I don't know if it was originally written to be fake.
Right, and that feeds into what we were talking about before with this
Hmm.
decision not being made.
Although that's kind of eyebrowy because at the end of the way, it's Amy Pond all over again. If that was the original plan.
Yeah.
So Matt, what scene made your eyes roll? What made you decide to go get a cheese sandwich?
I think my knee jerk of "oh come on" was when we saw the pseudo face huggers coming down, and all of a sudden it jumped outside. It's like, "oh, you're trying to pull something, aren't you?" Also, an explosion. Yeah, you're trying to pull something. Don't try to fake it.
So the Santa saves the day moment.
As epic as it was, I was reading its book already at that point.
Speaking of that scene, I feel like budget limitations affected that scene because when I picture Santa saving the day, if he has an army of toys, it's not an army of Slinkies.
I don't
Oh, I
know.
don't
Those
know.
those
I
slinkies
don't
coming in
know.
were pretty cool.
I act that scene itself made me smile because it was reminiscent of the movie Toys.
Ah,
Robin Williams Toys.
Yeah,
Ever seen it?
I
Great
saw the
movie.
end of
I've
it.
heard of it.
Yes.
Um, and so it was kind of like wow. But yes, I agree with you that there was budgetary constraints on there. Did you notice that Santa's sleigh was two-thirds down a reindeer team?
Yeah, for
Three
most of it.
reindeer.
Yep, he should have had a nine reindeer team, and he had three.
Well, they lost them all over Clara's house.
Yeah, supposedly.
But the only reason I can figure out why that would happen is budget constraints.
Yeah.
We can only animate
Anyway,
three of them at this speed.
um, so I do think there was some budget constraints.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what? Other than the scene I mentioned where uh, the doctor and Santa were arguing, which was bothering the hell out of me because I'd seen it before. My second least favorite scene, I think, was the Danny Pink scene.
The dream.
Yeah, well, not the whole part of the dream, just dealing with Danny Pink.
See, I like the ending bit of that at least. I thought the ending of that dream was actually really strong.
It was, but again, it's nothing we hadn't seen already. And
To a degree, yeah.
And I really did not want to have. I thought Danny was dead. I didn't really want to have another 5 minutes of him being sullenly hostile to the Doctor. So I'm not a Danny Pink fan, as you know.
Well, yeah,
So
for obvious reasons, but I thought that was probably the strongest moment those two characters have ever had together in the entirety of this year. So,
it
True.
still did. The scenes itself with Danny and Clara, I agree with you. The scene just with Danny dealing with the Doctor is what always kind of makes
Well,
me
Danny
go.
didn't really deal. I mean, he like responded
to the
to
Doctor a
to
little,
one
but
thing
he
the
didn't
doctor
really spend a
said,
lot
but
of
that was
time on
about
it
it.
either.
It was
Which
enough
was
to
one
it
straight
was
bullet.
enough to annoy me. But like I said, my key scene was the Doctor and Santa, because having two basically legendary figures sniping at each other is basically the plot of Robots in Sherwood. Do we really need a repeat with Santa Claus?
Not particularly, unless we're getting rid of the robots.
And pretty much everybody at the place I was watching is just like, oh, come on, the scene is dragging on.
This, oh, see,
Budgetary.
yeah, I actually thought since with that being shorter than the Robot of Sherwood version of the scene, I enjoyed it a bit more.
Eh.
Like if it had gone on as long as the prison sequence and everything, then would have been annoying to me.
See, the prison sequence was actually kind of funny.
It was, but it was just too long. It overplayed what it was doing.
Mm. And this one, it definitely felt like filler.
Yeah, it was hammering a point that we didn't need hammered in. All right. So now that we've gotten those four basics over, we've got about 10 minutes, I think, that we can talk about other stuff before we go to our final thoughts. No,
Is there
wait,
anything
no,
else?
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. We've got darn near an hour. We've got darn near a little over half an hour. I keep looking at it
I'm-
with
Well,
midnight
so
shutdown.
if it's early, it's early.
Right. Yeah, like this is not going to be a 2-hour episode because we're not just going to cram in filler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
and
only
there's-
three
there's-
people.
there's-
We're not
yeah.
we're not at risk of running over time. That's for sure.
Yeah,
There goes your bandwidth again, Bill.
yeah.
Okay, so anything else that you want to talk about on this? Like I've mentioned, the fact that the whole dreaming an idealistic dream is a trope that has been done. So has the dream in a dream. I've seen that done before too.
The dream where someone's trying to tell you that you're dreaming and they can't quite wake you up has been done. I was mentioning
There's
to
a
Matt
TV
before.
series to that.
I was trying to work in a joke about the similarities between this episode and a recent episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I was afraid that either I would have needed a extremely long explanation or I just would have lost everybody listening because I feel like not as many people are watching that. Yeah.
People are probably waiting
all
to
right.
see it on Netflix or something, you know.
So writing, how do you think the writing came across in this?
I'm kind of wondering how long ago this was written because, I mean, even if you look at Peter Capaldi's body language, it feels like a mess. Like there are scenes that are only this doctor would do and would pull off, but the vast majority of the script feels like it could equally be a Matt Smith episode. Even the
Or
body
some-
language is very reminiscent of Matt Smith.
Or it was something that Moffat might have had in his bag of tricks that he wrote up and redressed with a Capaldi face on it,
Right.
showing us that the bag's not yet empty.
Wish it was, so he'd go away.
Yeah, apparently he's here for another season.
Let me find a...
You don't have sharp, stabby things to poke you in the eye with, Matt?
I got a
I
fork.
find your lack of commitment disturbing.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
You need a ketchup packet, Matt.
I don't eat ketchup.
Me neither. I feel you.
You're a sick, strange people. You are sick, strange people.
I eat mustard.
So do I, with ketchup and mayo
And
usually.
I wouldn't. I
But then
wouldn't
again,
recommend a hot. I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend a hot sauce packet for that trick because there's too many ways for something to go wrong and end up with burning in your eyes.
chunky salsa.
Actually, the screaming would be real then.
There you go. I maced myself.
Yeah, this is new with us being visual. So,
Mhm.
and I would be a little more gestury if I didn't have to hold my headset together. I am going to have to get some tape.
Wrap some
Duct
tape
tape.
around your head.
Make a headband
Oh,
out of duct
so
tape.
yeah, so I look like a war survivor.
Well, then you need to get some Rambo face makeup and everything.
Anyway, yeah, there's some things that look very Matt Smith on this. There are some things that look, Capaldi, and there are some things that, it makes me wonder if Moffat had this script half written somewhere on a drive someplace.
I wonder if it might have
Possibly.
been written for the plot for Amy, Rory, and the Doctor at first, or Amy, Rory, and 11, I should say, and then got redressed.
It's possible. Um, yeah, the direction and the set is really nice.
Direction says definitely very good. Yes. I will say that despite the fact that there was obviously a tight budget, they still had some decent effects. They relied on animatronics for the big nasty of the week, which was actually a smart idea yet again. It seems that they're doing really good animatronics lately, and I'm not sure why.
They probably got somebody on their production team that does good with animatronics, and they're
Just
just
realize
like,
this.
oh,
This
hey, we have a
probably
resource, let's
doesn't
utilize
count
it.
as. This probably doesn't count as using Moffat's body fetish, does it?
No,
Or not
Not really,
much.
no.
no.
No, it's not dissecting someone to use their parts for something else, no.
Although, yeah, it was very obvious to see previous Doctor Who writing stuff in here. It was a little reminiscent of Turn Left, which I believe somebody mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mentioned it before.
Yeah, Bill, yeah.
Because yeah, the beetle on your on Donna's back was a little reminiscent of what these things did, only with the face hugger thing set in.
Kinda.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda. Um. Oh, the elves. I enjoyed their banter once in a while. They weren't
Yeah,
they weren't 100% perfect, but then again, who was?
they weren't great, well-developed characters, but they were entertaining while they were on screen, pretty
Mhm.
much. Which, yeah, you can't really expect a dream to be all that well-developed, I guess.
And with limited amount of time for a special,
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I,
it's not two-parter.
This was Strax's actor's third Christmas special in a row they mentioned on the extra episode.
I don't think it's in a row, but it's the third time he's been in one. Yes.
The
Um,
Snowmen, the Snowmen, Time of the Doctor, and this.
was he in Time with the Doctor?
Not as Strax, but as Centaurans.
Oh yeah, it's the two Centaurans. Yes. But they became visible. They're both him via
Yeah.
green screen.
Yeah. Don't you like it when Santarans were actually played by different people?
Although
That was still a good scene.
they mentioned they mentioned that they were glad that they wanted to have him have an episode where you actually saw his face. I'm like, wait, I don't think we've seen Nick Briggs' face on screen.
In this particular show, not yet that I'm aware of.
Then again, he doesn't have the most appealing face, but I mean, it's not, ugly, it's just not really memorable.
Ow. Um.
No offense to Nick Briggs. He's a great voice actor, a very talented person.
Well, he was memorable enough to be the Doctor for the audio visuals.
And that is true.
Yes, but he was a lot younger then.
Mm.
Ouch. Now you're calling him old. Just one
Let's see,
slam
that
after
was-
another here,
Because
Randy.
I suspect
that
he,
was,
I
what,
suspect
20 years
he
ago?
probably still had the majority of his hair.
Actually, no, he was already balding at the time.
Really?
They made comic
I don't know.
adaptations of him that looked like that.
The world may be ready for a female doctor. I don't think it's ready for a bald one. No offense, Bill. I'm just saying.
Poor Bill. Up
Say
there
bald
alone.
you say bald doctor, and my brain immediately goes to Dr. Cox when he shaved his head.
Okay.
All right, so we were starting to talk about the actors. Was there any actors that you thought were particularly off? I've already mentioned I didn't think Nick Frost was right for the role,
Off?
but yeah.
I didn't really feel anyone was particularly off. But
Okay.
again, this is a dream.
I feel like the older lady, the one that ended up having grandkids at the end that the doctor had called sexy. I
paralyzed
feel
one.
like she
Yeah.
was she. I
Yeah,
feel like
she
there
was in a
could have been
wheelchair.
more to her. I don't know if that's act like I don't know if it's well it's I guess a little acting and a little the writing. It just like she wasn't really given much character and she didn't really take it to have anything to take anything and do enough with it to really stand out.
So you think
Like
she
if-
mostly just kind of
if-
phoned it in?
Yeah, like if you had cut her from the script, I don't think it would have made any difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than
Yeah,
the
I
fact
think
the
she was
doctor
kind
had
of
one
an
less name to
add-on.
yell out.
Other than it would have affected the scenes with the 4 manuals.
Mm.
And
That,
the
Yeah.
that'd
number
be
of
about
four,
it.
yeah.
Because they'd have to
But
work
that
with
would just
3
been
words
3
instead of
manuals,
4.
and there would have been 3 bodies in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't
Actually,
have really been-
even then, if you cut out one vary from each of those segments,
Yeah.
cut out the vary. Yeah, then that would have been all it would have all it would have lost.
Yeah, it could have been done. Speaking of actors, you know who we didn't see on here, don't you? We didn't see Simon Pegg. We had all
Oh.
hoped he would make it. We all hoped he would make a cameo somewhere in the episode, and he didn't.
I honestly did not have any expectations. So.
I hope that maybe it was a possibility, but I wasn't holding my breath by any means either.
I thought it would have been awesome. We had come up with an idea before we had seen the ending of this that we would have thought it was funny as hell. That if you, after the episode, it had cut to a mall somewhere where you see Santa and an Easter Bunny, played by Simon Pegg, sitting there having cups of coffee, going,
I was just thinking about how if he had actually called up the Easter Bunny to help, that would have been a great spot for a Simon Pegg
well,
cameo.
it came up a couple of times.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so my thought of almost an after bump was you cut to a mall where you see there and you see Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny sitting there having a cup of coffee. Santa going, yeah, so that's exactly what happened. The Easter Bunny turns and goes, you're lucky. That means that you're done with them. I have to deal with them in about 5 months. Cut to trailer.
Right.
But that's more, I think, our humor style than the actual Doctor Who humor style.
A little so-so.
It's more of Simon Pegg's humor style, too.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been funny.
Referential. Huzzah.
Of course, they do kind of leave it open in the air, because the final scene, if you look on that thing, you see that little reef with the TARDIS taking off, and there, at the bottom of the reef, is a tangerine. And why are they tangerines and not satsumas?
I don't know. That's what they keep calling them, and
Better
actually
for
that
the
was a windowsill.
international, I guess.
Yes, but they'd already established satsumas for Doctor Who. They should have just gone with it. Moffat. Arr. Arr. Moffat.
Uh,
Anyway, anything.
one thing that kind of stuck out to me. This isn't rare in Doctor Who, but it's still to the point of being rare in fiction, and it's something that's been kind of discussed because of other things, and that is well, okay, well, it's kind of explained away against the plot, but still, there's a mostly female group of cast, even though they're not actual real scientists that want to be scientists and such in there, and it's no reason they had to be female, but at the same time, with you know the flavor of media today, it's definitely helpful, to have them there. It's not a major thing, and it's not rare for Doctor Who either, but it's something I noticed.
Hmm. Hmm.
I hadn't
Would have
really
been nice
paid
if at
that
least
much
one of them
attention.
really was a scientist.
Would have been. Well, it could have been the old guy, and he died.
He died.
Yeah, it would have been great. He's the only real scientist, and he's the one that died.
Yeah. Cut to a scene where they're actually at a North Pole research base. Someone finds his body.
Or even, like a university professor or something.
Mm-hmm.
Still, the guy with the level head, the thing that you'd be best prepared to survive it, all you see is a article that morning, Professor such and such dies mysteriously. Would have been
Although, I mean,
interesting.
looking at his character, I wouldn't really have expected him to be. I mean, the main things I think of was him scaring off the girl by putting his hand on her knee when supposed to be giving a briefing, and him standing there eating a chicken leg while talking about face huggers.
Yeah,
I
he
think it was a
doesn't
chicken.
really seem that. Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
really seem the scientist type. He seems a little
Joe at home.
little weird uncle.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
creepy uncle ish.
All right, so I think we've covered pretty much all we can cover about this.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and give it our final thoughts. Bill.
Um, Final thoughts. I
Hmm.
think I would say I liked it a bit more. Actually, it might be my favorite Moffat Christmas special. Um, it's generally all right. A good mix of horror and Christmas. I probably would have leaned a bit more toward fleshing out the horror a bit more, but that's just how I roll anyway. Altogether, perfectly passable and enjoyable story.
All right, Matt.
Other than maybe a few extra edits, but that might be because of budget reasons, but also with a few more character rewrites, this probably could have been a perfect Christmas special for Moffat. But as it stands for Moffat, this probably is one of the best he's ever done, and that's at the same time that's saying something, but that's also not saying much when it comes to Moffat either. Once in a while he'll pull out a gem, and then the rest of it he just kind of just plows through it without much thought.
Yeah, not unusual for I guess the three of us is the fact that our thoughts on it are pretty much along the same lines. I am, are pretty hard on Moffat Christmas specials.
Especially Moffat, yes, when he's writing
I have
something.
a strong dislike for them in general, but yeah, I think this is my favorite because I don't have that much of a beef with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't like. I mentioned the fact that I didn't like Nick Frost. Thought he was in miscast, and a couple of scenes seemed to drag on a bit. But that was minor, minor in comparison to issues that I've had in previous years.
Compared to fucking up somebody's life, the episode. Yeah, he's had some terrible bad Christmas episodes that you just sit there going, "Why are they doing this? This is not what he should be doing."
And yeah, so I'm actually kind of fond of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's all I have to say. That this is probably the best of the Moffat Christmas era. Take that as you will. Um, Whether that means it's still that let's go ahead and give it our scores. Bill?
Tim hasn't seen it yet, but should I give it a 5 for him in absentia?
I think
Well,
it'll probably
Tim
be
will
getting
able
a
to give
5
his
from
own
Tim.
rating later.
I'm
Did
going to
Aaron
go
give
ahead.
us a rating?
Yes, she did. Did I put that in the right space?
You put it
Aaron
under
gave
Matt,
it a
I
4.
think.
Oh, sorry, Matt, wrong one. Aaron gave it a 4.5. She had most of the same thoughts I did. In fact, I voiced some of the things that she had brought up, and the fact that some of the scenes dragged on a little long, but other than that, it was a really good episode. She liked it. So, Bill, what did you give it? You're on first.
Yes, and I'm edging in between two. I'm actually looking at some of the ratings I've given in the past to see which it matches more closely with.
He's trying to be consistent.
Yeah.
Not that worried about being consistent.
Yeah, I don't think it goes quite high enough for me to give it a 4.5. I'm going to give it a 4.0.
All right, Matt.
4.5.
Matt gives it a 4.5, and I agree with Bill. Who'd have thunk it? Giving it a 4.0. I think that there were a couple of things that kind of gave it half-point deductions for me. One of which was, like I said, I felt Nick Frost was a little miscast in it, or miswritten, one or the other. And a couple of the scenes just seemed to go on a bit long. Mm-hmm. And it did seem to feel a bit cliche at times.
Shep just at a 4.25 overall. If Tim were to rate it, that would probably put it at a 4.4 for the group, but we're not going to assume that considering he hasn't even watched the episode
just yet.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's going to be his rating. I would put money on it if I had money to put on it.
Given his previous Christmas ones, yeah.
Anybody taking that bet? Anybody?
I'll bet $5
You don't bet on a sure
that.
thing.
You'll bet $5 that he won't give it a 5 because my money's
that
on
he
giving
will
it
give it a 5.
Yeah, we're all on the same side of that bet, so no one's putting up the money to face us.
Sure thing isn't much of a bet at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a 4.4 by the time
And on
it's
that
done.
stinger,
It's the best bet. It's the best bet to make if there's someone betting against you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see you all next time.
You guys will actually not know until our next season. This is our final broadcast for season 3, and our final broadcast for 2014.
Yes, we are taking the week off and starting again on probably the first Wednesday in January. If not, we'll keep you posted. But expect us to be at our normal time, Wednesday the 7th.
We should be there. We're going to be discussing the audio adventure, Spare Parts. Who wrote that? Did anybody know
Mark
who wrote
Platt.
that? Mark Platt. Which is a Cybermen origin story for the Mondazian Cybermen. We will talk more about that in 2 weeks. One of the
inspirations for Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we will discuss that, like I said, the first week of January. On the behalf of Bill, Matt, and myself, and Aaron, who is currently asleep in the other room, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will see you in 2015, and I've heard rumors that it's going to be fantastic. Except for March. March might be a little iffy. All the winter we're not getting now will come back to haunt us about then. Maybe. So it might be a little icy.
Can't be worse than 2014.
Can't be. It can't.
Hell, if we get through January 1st without a childhood icon dying, it'll be better than 2014.
Jesus, no kidding, right? On that bombshell, good night.
You can keep up with us until the start of the next season on social media at facebook.com/unearthlypodcast or twitter.com/unearthlypod. You can, of course, always watch our episodes either by subscribing to youtube.com/madmadinc1 or checking out playlists at youtube.com/maninblackreviews, watching our streams at twitch.tv/madmat2185, or following us on Mixcloud at an Unearthly Podcast. And of course, if you want to give us a Christmas gift, donate $1 a month or $1 a podcast at patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
And we'll see you all then.
And